Alright, so if you guys look on that palette, what I've got on there is I've got white, I've got yellow, and the reason why I have yellow on there is because that's the color of our lights, okay? And then I have the ultramarine blue and then the violet over there. And so I'm going to be using the white and the yellow primarily for my highlights, and then I'm going to be mixing my ultramarine blue with the violet for my shadows. This pile right here is the matte medium. Now it looks white, but it actually dries clear, okay? So it's not going to give your project, if I was to just paint this directly on top of, you know, my painting right here, it would actually dry clear, okay? And it's just going to give it a matte finish, so it doesn't dry white, okay? So when I do this, okay, so I'll do a highlight first. So I'll show you how I would do a highlight. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of this white. I'm just going to put a little bit of it right here. Now I could, if I wanted to, I could just start with this and add medium to it and make a glaze out of the white and just start painting my highlights down then. And then layer yellow on top after it's dry, but I'm just going to kind of skip that step. I'm going to add just a little touch of this yellow into that white. I don't want it to be overwhelmingly yellow, just a little touch of yellow. So I'm going to do that. There we go. It's just like a pale yellow. So then once I do that, then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a big scoop of this medium and I'm going to mix it in with that. And you'll notice right away, again, the paint's not quite as thick, and you'll see that it just kind of makes the paint more fluid and then it thins it out a little bit. So the more medium you add to your paint, the more transparent it's going to be. So you'll have to kind of test it out. You can get your sketchbook out and try out little glaze swatches to see if it's what you want, and then adjust the paint to glaze ratio from there. So I'm just going to add like 2 scoops to this, and we'll see what this gets me. So when you do these highlights, okay, I'll just use this. So I'm going to do a highlight over here on this dark side. This is just the violet painted, just straight. So what I do is I just basically paint it down. I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to blend. So I'm just going to paint that highlight wherever the highlight needs to be. I look at the shape that the highlight makes. Sometimes you'll notice that a highlight is very specific. Maybe it has a very defined shape, and in other times you might see that it kind of blends out. So if it blends out, okay, so I've got this right here. What I do is I wash my brush off after I'm done painting the color down initially, the highlight. I take off as much water as I can off the brush, and then I just simply, before this paint dries, I take my brush and I kind of pull the color like this. And so what I'm doing is just kind of breaking up that edge and just kind of dragging it. The trick is to blend with acrylics, you need to do it before it dries. Now the other thing that's nice about the medium is that not only does it make the paint color more transparent, but it actually also too slows down the drying. So if you guys have noticed, the acrylic paint dries really fast. Well, when you add medium to it, it slows that down a little bit. So it gives you more time to do things like blending it out. So that's just all I do there. That's how you blend. Is you just clean off your brush, wet it a little bit, and then just drag it. And then I'm just going to clean it up a little bit more and just kind of then finish this off right here. So that's how you blend. It's actually pretty easy, okay, once you know how to do it. So yeah. So shadows, okay, so what I'm going to do for the shadow, now you don't necessarily have to use this particular mixture of paint if you don't want to. If you feel like you need to do something a little different, that's fine. So for example, let's say you have a like a red or maybe pink colored shoe. You could start off with the violet. I would definitely suggest for everyone to use the violet in some capacity as your shadow. But maybe if you have like a red or pink shoe, maybe you would add a little bit more red. You'd mix red with your violet instead of blue to make it more of a warm shadow color. Okay, so if you have any questions about what color you should be using, just let me know and I can help you out. So I'm going to start this initially by just taking a little bit of the violet, and then I'm going to pick up a little bit of this ultramarine blue, mix those together. So I'm basically making a blue-violet. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to, and I want to make sure I pull from another side here, so you always remember, you always pull your paint from the outside edge, even if it's medium. I'm going to mix that in. Start with a scoop. We'll see where this gets me. And you'll see, again, right away that the paint is more fluid, it's not as clumpy, it's not as thick, and it's going to make it more transparent. So now I'm going to do this over here on my red side. Paint a bit down. So again, I'm going to paint this wherever I see my shadows. Now again, I'm not using just black, okay, for my shadows. I'm not making a gray, okay. I'm using the violet and an ultramarine blue because I want to make sure that my shadows have a cool base to them, okay. Highlights are always going to have a warm base. Shadows are always going to have a cool base. So if you guys remember, warm colors advance, cool colors recede. So paint that down where I need it. And then again, to blend it out, all I'm going to do is wash off my brush. I'm going to take off the paint. I'm going to take some of that water off my brush. And then before the paint dries, I'm just going to drag it. I'm just going to break up that edge there. And then again, you might have to do it a couple times. And then do it there too. Now I can always go back. I can make stuff a little bit darker. So let's say I want to make that a little bit darker. So maybe what I'll do is I'll go back in here, get some violet, get some more of that blue. I'm not going to add any medium to it because I don't want to make it transparent. And then I'm going to paint that in right here. And to be honest with you guys, it'll work better if it's dry. That layer before is dry. But I don't know. It's working. Paint that in. Wash off my brush. Get the water off of it. And then blend that out. And there you go. Okay, so that's how you blend, and that's how you're going to do your shadows and your highlights. Okay, so that's basically it. All right, so there you go. If you think you're ready to work on your shadows and highlights, let me see your painting first. Okay,